welcome back. We have with us today Father Visitacao Monteiro, and the reason why he's here is this book called Goan Village Communities, which talks about the Gaonkaris or Comunidades of Goa. So Father, congratulations on this book.
Thank you.
I hear it's done already 1,000 copies and you're planning a reprint soon.
Yes.
Tell us how the book came about and what it contains.
See, this book came about like this. I have been writing in the last 5 years various articles about our Goan issues, and I never used the word prefix father for my name. So many of the readers who have been reading my articles, they ask their friends, who is this fellow who is writing, and they came to know that I was the one. And they got my phone number. Some of them contacted me through phone, and some of them came to meet me personally. Yeah. And they asked me, Father, we never heard about these things which you are writing in this book, in these articles. And why don't you come up with a book? Because this generation who has come born after 62, hardly know about these issues. And even the older generation, I don't think knows much about it, but something they know. So I said, I am with my hands on another book of different nature, subject, which I have not been able to complete.
Migration?
Migrations of Goans, but which I have not been able to complete up to now. And with that pending day, I cannot waste my time to write another book. What I could do is just to help you, those who are asking, that I could write a booklet to give elementary notions. And in fact, this book is a booklet. I will not say it's a big book.
Whatever, but it contains a lot. It contains useful information.
So, and the opportunity came to me that I met with an accident on 17th May 2018. And I fractured my collarbone again in the same place and 3 ribs.
I see.
And I had to take rest for 3 months. So all the time I can't sleep also. I feel more tired. So I said, let me use this time to scribble something about this.
You're being modest.
So I started writing about these issues. And more or less, I put my first scheme and all that and started completing it.
What does the book contain?
This book contains something very important about our own identity of Goans. I have attended many sessions or lectures given by even by Europeans and even our own people who speak a lot about Goan culture. But most of them, I feel, they have not identified up to now where our culture lies or from where it springs.
Where does it lie according to you?
According to me, it springs from our community living of Goans called Gaonkaris or Comunidades. That's where we grew in that community living as a peaceful, loving people with all these attributes which are given to us.
So you describe the comunidades or the Gaonkars, and then you talk about the features of the Gaonkaria and how they control land and their history and what role they played.
I have focused, well seen, there was no need of another book on comunidades. There are enough books on comunidades. But this book has become special in the sense that I have focused on a particular aspect under 3 features: community land, community agriculture, community governance. This was our life in Goa down the centuries till 61, till the end of 61. And that's what our generation doesn't know. That's what I am planning to, plan to write.
I was a kid in the 60s and I still remember that the comunidades used to look after the drains and the roads and some aspects till the panchayats came in. How do comunidades compare with the panchayats, for example?
Then let me elaborate first about these three features first, then I will come to
please,
them.
Please.
Say, these three features constitute the essence of community, that is, community land, community agriculture, community governance. The land belongs to the community, entire community, and how it was formed, these land issues, and how the village was formed, I have dealt in my first chapter. The first settlers who came from anywhere, or for them Goa was at that time was the island of Tiswadi. It was known as Goa at that time. And those who settled in the big island of Tiswadi and the islands around, as Shuraon, Divars, Jua, and a few islands were there. They had to organize necessarily for their own survival into communities. And there was no ruler at the time. Ruler was
far away and not particularly connected with the region. No?
Not only that, first they say centuries and centuries where rulers were unheard of.
Village republics kind of thing.
Yes, they themselves formed all these republics by themselves.
Yeah.
So, though they organized themselves into communities for various reasons, I have given them there. Right. One was alien groups could come and displace them from their lands. So they had to protect themselves and fight against the common enemy. Yeah. Next was they were living in huts, most probably. Their houses were a type of huts. So winds blow, monsoons and all that. So disrupts the entire location and all that. They had to rebuild their own huts or houses in order to accommodate their own people, for themselves, children, elderly people, sick people. So all this contributed to that. Then there were animals which could attack them, predators which kept their work. So they had to necessarily organize themselves, and for their own self-development or progressive development of the community. Right. So these were the main reasons why they organized themselves into communities. And in common land, they did common agriculture, common governance. They evolved a few rules for themselves. Now, three aspects this community land. Land was needed for housing, and their houses were initially, it is understood that at least they may be huts or walls of mud and thatched palm leaves and all that. So, land, they divided the land of the community according to families. Big family got a big plot, small family, small plot. They divided according to the needs of their constituents. And this was how the land was divided. But before that, land was supposed to be, according to their conception or understanding, that the land was a gift from God. And first, they earmarked land for God.
Whether it was a temple or the church, no?
For building his
home.
Temple.
Deity,
deity. Gram Devata. And next they allotted for themselves. Then they allotted to various services also within the, so those were serving the temple.
True.
The various services of all that was allotted for this, various purposes. And next came the community agriculture. In those centuries, there were no schools, no industries, nothing. So they had necessarily to live on agriculture. So they saw vast plains of alluvial lands or alluvial sloughs, and they banded these lands may not be everywhere, especially where there are cousin land, they bund it.
I've seen a government figure which says that there are 2,000 kilometers of bunding in
Yes.
Goa. 2,000 kilometers,
Yes. Yes.
which is a long distance
Yes.
from here
Yes.
to Delhi virtually.
Yeah. So it is a centuries work of toil, hard workmanship of these.
To reclaim these
yes,
low-lying
yes,
lands.
and and they had to work even at night sometimes because they could work only on low tide.
Low tide.
Yeah. So this work they did for us,
Yeah.
and we have destroyed it practically. Yeah. And we have not understood all this. I feel it is a pity that there are centuries old laborious work and tedious work they have done for us. We had destroyed it.
What are the elements of its destruction in that sense? After 61, the new laws or the
agricultural tenancy law was the first one which came and which destroyed. Pisciculture took over agriculture, and that is the sad part of it.
I know you're from Sanstevan, so you're seeing a lot of this firsthand because you have seen the changes in the village.
Yeah.
But in what way would the Tenancy Act affect it? Because collective interest was lost, or it's no longer working?
Collective interest was lost. The tenants became owners of the land. This tenancy associations.
Yeah, tenants associations.
They were entrusted with the bonds, which formerly was done by the Commandant. And I give you only one example. If there is a breach in the bond, the tenancy association intimates the Mamlatdar. By that time, he sends engineers to take the estimates.
Many days have gone by.
That 5 meters become 10 meters.
Oh.
They go prepare estimates and go back. By that time, they are approved and that becomes 20 meters.
I see.
So, waste of time and money. It doesn't work. So, that was the sad part of it. Villages were totally inundated. Wells got salty. Total destruction of agriculture and horticulture also. People were doing horticulture during the other season, non-paddy. So that also was destroyed. So this is how agriculture got totally destroyed.
Of course, this cousin lands issue is so complex that many of our generation don't understand it. I read an article by Uday Shankar in Down to Earth magazine, which explains, how sensitive and how kind of complex the food system is. These are areas which are lying below the sea level in high tide. So they would get flooded every time. The kind of work that has gone into it. It's a different subject by itself. But coming back to your book, would it be right to say that till the start of the 20th century, private ownership in land in Goa was not so common? It was mostly collectively owned. So there is a huge stake also for people to take over these last areas and control it, in that sense.
That has become because of land revenue code, mostly. Because land revenue code, which Welsin couldn't be brought into Goa. Because our land is not revenue land. It is accepted by every ruler who ruled Goa down the century, right from Bhojas, Yadavas, Kadambas, Marathas, Portuguese, Muslims, everybody, that this land does not belong to the ruler, Goa's land.
Of course, I've seen comunidades in the 60s when it was just on that cusp of change. And they seem to be getting quite a few things right. The village structure was run well. There was no wastage of money, and the trees were lined with coconut trees. The roads were lined with coconut trees, and agriculture was taken care of. So although the Agriculture Tenancy Act was supposed to increase productivity, it probably decreased it.
Destroyed practically. Not only
decreased. Why? What are the factors? What are the reasons?
I have got under right of information the what is called the statistics of production of agriculture for nearly 40 years.
I see.
And if you compare those of those times to these, that's well seen.
But someone could argue that this is because of other factors. Like, for example, there are other jobs available. There are government jobs, so agriculture is low paying. People won't go in for agriculture. Would not that argument hold? It's not only like the demise of the comunidades.
See, agriculture is a permanent occupation, I feel.
And Goa can never feed itself. We are always running short.
Even during olden times.
Even olden times. Portuguese and pre-Portuguese.
Yeah, even during olden times, Goa couldn't feed itself. It's a large population. That's why one of the reasons for migrations of Goans towards other parts of it is death.
I know you're looking at the migrations towards the South, Manglo and all. Was the inability to feed ourselves.
Yes. So and there were vast lands in those areas.
Yeah. And they had good agricultural skills here,
yeah,
which they took with them.
Which they took with themselves there.
But further, to give you a counterpoint, like the comunidades have many good things that's accepted, but some of the negative things that they have.
Yes.
One is that they don't include women. That's very clear.
Yeah.
And they don't include all sections of the society. No, it's the dominant caste groups or dominant village groups that are included. So how would you respond to this?
See, there is no perfect system up to now in any part of the world. Even our democracy, which is called the best, was considered the best.
Has its limitations.
It has got all its limitations.
You can game the system.
Yeah. So there is no perfect system, and neither communities are perfect. But they have got their best they could give, and they still can give, I feel. Yeah.
You've taken
sorry. You pointed out some things with women are not included. And caste factor. Yeah. No doubt communities were based on caste. In India, everything is based on caste. Although we don't accept that. Yeah. But India, throughout from the north to south is a caste system which still prevails. We have to disregard it, but it is still there. And it is, no doubt it was based on that. But original people from Goa, they were not the ones who are presently holding these reins of the communities, I feel. They were the Kunbis, the Gaudas, the Zolmis. And
you are saying that the communities were there before the
not in the present form, but somehow they organized themselves in this, and gradually it evolved in the final stages. But originally the lands were done by them, even agricultural land. Later on, other migrations came to Goa. They dispossessed them. These are
the facts of history.
These are the facts of history where they were taken over by others. And still a few of them are still with the originals. But whatever it may be, the system evolved itself. Any system goes on evolving.
Right.
So like these communities also evolved themselves. And women in those centuries also, male domination was there, and it still is there in India, and still in many parts of the world.
In fact, sometimes we juxtapose current day reality with the past, but even till the 1910s, I think the British women, 1940s, didn't have the right to vote. So that was built in, that discrimination was built in.
That was centuries old.
I'm not justifying it, but it's a fact.
No, it is a fact. Nobody can deny it. But wives of Gaonkars had the right
through their family
to zone, half zone or something. Widows.
Father, I found your references very interesting. So, you have taken references for different aspects of the Comunidad world and given the references of where people can find more information. So, you've covered about almost 14 different subjects, 13 or 14 different subjects on the Comunidades. Can you give us a hint?
My book speaks about, in 5 chapters, the essential part of it. And there are 12 articles on the appendix which speak or complement and supplement this
main
narrative.
We'll the articles in 2 minutes. But
main
first,
narrative, they complement the main narrative.
So your references are dealing with village republics, functions of the village communities, lands for the temples, professional artisans, grazing lands for cattle, and in each topic you've given the reader references of where to go to. So who is your book meant for? Someone who wants to get a basics of the understanding in a little while, or how would you say, whom is it meant for? Someone of today's generation who doesn't know much?
This is meant for practically everybody. The today's generations who do not know much about, have not even heard sometimes about these up to 62 generation. And even the older generation,
they were not too much into reading, and they were not local material produced there.
Because I myself, I was 15 years old when this whole change of
I see.
so-called liberation came.
Yeah.
So I know a little of that
Era.
that era, how our administration was. We had a village doctor, free doctor, looking after
Really?
everybody.
Paid by the comunidad?
Paid by the comunidad.
Really? San
And
Simão?
every village.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, comunidad village had a village doctor.
I
Unless
see.
it is small village,
Okay.
it is quite different. But villages had their own doctor looking after gaonkar, non-gaonkar, everybody, free of charge.
I see.
And in those times,
Yeah.
the only means of transport was cycle.
Yeah.
He was having received a call, he was going on cycle or walking to the house of this sick person
Yeah. Yeah.
to treat him.
Yeah.
Such dedication I have not seen anywhere.
Very interesting because you come from San Simão, as I said, and in your village, you know, it's a very beautiful village with a whole lot of problems of transition and change and ecology and all that. And also recently it was in the news because they tried to revive the community farming systems. And you know, I think that's very laudable on their part, and maybe more can learn from your example. But tell us a little bit about the articles at the end. Your articles look at topics which are complementary, you said, to the book.
No, I think I have missed one point here.
Sorry.
I didn't speak a little about agriculture. I have dealt a little.
Okay.
And more about a third, how the governance of the village was conducted. See, it was self-rule of the community.
Yeah.
We never heard of the Portuguese government in the villages as such.
I see.
They were never interfering in the villages, as far as I know. Their rule was
at the top level.
Their role was to see whether the rules of administration of the village were observed or not.
Yeah.
That was also through the administrator of communities. So we have not practically seen the government as such in our villages. Village was
government was absent. Village was locally
ruled by the village itself. Self-rule of the community. And this was practically considered as village republic. This was the idea of Mahatma Gandhi in his book, Village India of My Dreams. And Nehru also, when he visited Goa in '63, he also wanted the same to happen, but I don't think they knew that he was existing in Goa. And his own party afterwards did respect this, what he had said. That's what I feel.
Interesting. I really liked the photos that, you know, show different aspects of communal life, some of the communal
Not only that, sorry to interrupt you. That about village ruling itself. Not only doctor, village had a barber.
I see. Free haircuts for all.
Yes, Dobi.
Really?
And they were going even to the house of the old people to shave them and to cut give their heart.
Wow.
But that may not be
in all areas.
No, and not only there, what was they were paid might not be sufficient. But community had left them with the paddy fields and all that for their sustenance and all that. But people also were giving them something.
Yeah, I think
not only that, the roads, village roads were done by the community. The culverts maintained by them, roads and culverts were done and maintained by the community. Then the sluice gates, then the bunds. Every week there was a Vijaya, he was named Vijaya, a man who had to go through all the bunds and see whether there is a breach or a possibility of breach.
Very interesting.
What are the sipping through the band.
You have given us a lot of food for thought, but because we are running short of time and because we need to read we need to leave something for the reader, some excuse for the reader to pick up your book, which has already sold 1,000 copies. And I know you're going for a reprint in the space of 1 month.
Next, by March at least.
No, I mean like, when did your book come out?
It was on 22nd November.
Oh, that's
2018.
Very fast. It's very fast. And you're already out of copies. So people will have to wait for it to come back into the market. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. And we are looking forward to having you here with the other books and your migration book in particular.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.